When the betrothal between the Prince of Jin and me had long been set, he suddenly proposed to replace the bride with my younger sister. He confided to his confidant, "Ming Yuang has adored this prince since childhood. Even if she cannot be my principal wife, she would gladly marry into my household. But Ming Yuan is different. She is the one who holds my heart. Only she can be the princess consort of Jin." I did not make a scene, nor did I weep or plead. I simply asked my elders to visit the prince's residence to return the marriage contract. When Xiaochong heard of this, he only sneered coldly with contempt. Nothing but a pitiful ploy to entice and then reject. Besides this prince, no other man would ever take her. Yet when I truly married another, Xiaochong came to kneel before my door, his eyes red and rimmed with anguish, clutching his chest as he choked out, Yuang, why does this place feel so hollow now? My great-grandmother was the Empress Dowager Fengduan. My aunt was the Empress Xiaoda. Since I was a child, my father would often tell me, "The eldest daughter of the Ming clan shall one day be the mother of the realm." I was the only daughter born to the Ming family in this generation. All the court took it for granted. Whosoever marries her shall be the future sovereign. When I turned 10, the Ming clan sealed my betrothal to Xiaochong, Prince of Jin. From that day forth, I planned and sacrificed for him in all things, offering my sincerity without a trace of calculation. In the blink of an eye, I had reached the age to wear the ceremonial hairpin. 3 days later was to be our grand wedding, on an auspicious date chosen by the Astronomical Bureau. That day, the atmosphere in our residence grew strangely oppressive. Father summoned me to the ancestral hall. Before I reached the threshold, I heard a young woman's timid voice drifting from within. "Father, the elders are so stern. Do they dislike me? When my sister arrives and sees I am unhappy, what shall I do?" My father, who had spent a lifetime as Grand Secretary, ever solemn and reserved, now spoke in a gentle tone to soothe her. "With your father here, you need not fear." I frowned slightly, already guessing who she must be. With a quiet sigh, I meant to instruct the servant to announce me, when I heard a man's voice. "And I am here as well. No one dares bully my little Tuanai." That voice, how could I not know it? It was the Prince of Jin himself, who was supposed to be quelling the bandit uprising in Azu. Judging by the time, Xiaochong had left the capital less than half a month ago. Even if he commanded troops like a god, he could never have wiped out the bandits who had plagued Azu for over 10 years in so short a span. The enemy was yet undefeated, yet their commander had hurried back to the capital. Dereliction of duty, the emperor's wrath like thunder, the censure of civil and military officials, all of it could sever his path to the Eastern Palace. At this thought, I pushed the door open. The clan patriarch and elders were already assembled. When my gaze swept over father, he averted his eyes by instinct. The young woman standing in the center wore a robe of finest Azu brocade, her features sweet and delicate, and in the arch of her brows she bore a 3-part resemblance to me. She raised her brows and smiled softly. "You must be my elder sister." I did not answer. My eyes turned coldly to Xiaochong as I asked, "Your Highness, why are you here?" He frowned faintly, casting me an indifferent glance. My little Tuanai was returning home. I could not rest easy letting her come alone. I closed my eyes for a moment, exhaled, and asked again, "Has your Highness informed His Majesty of your return to the capital?" Xiaochong's patience wore thin. On the way back, I sent word to my mother. "Surely my father already knows." I continued, "Before your departure, did you see to all matters? The bandit scourge in Azu." "Ming Yuang." Xiaochong cut me off, his voice hard. "Do you think only you are clever, and all others are fools? Everything in Azu was long arranged by little Tuanai. She subdued those bandits herself. No need for your concern." Then he turned to the girl beside him, his tone suddenly soft. "And yet you smiled at her so kindly, only to have her coldly rebuff you. What is it you truly intend?" I stood frozen. The girl called Tenai looked aggrieved, her eyes glistening with tears. Sister must have been caught off guard. "Brother, why scold her so? You frighten me." At last Xiaochong's expression gentled. Father stepped forward, addressing me. "Ming Yuang, this is your younger sister, Ming Yuan. She was lost to us for many years and only now returned. Her mother spent her strength raising her alone and passed away in exhaustion. It was my failing toward them both. Today, before the elders, I wish to formally welcome Yuan into the family. From this day forth, She shall be recorded under your mother's name, as your legitimate sister. I glanced at Ming Yuan. She was as tall as I was, yet the birth records laid on the table claimed she was born only a few months after me. My maternal grandfather had often lamented that when my mother labored to bring me into this world, father was nowhere near her side. She nearly died in childbirth, and afterward, for the sake of father's ambitions, she struggled on through illness. Still she maintained the proprieties with the noble ladies, honored the elders in his stead, raised us siblings. Even upon her deathbed, she still fretted and planned, wishing to use her dowry to help father advance his career. When she passed, father shed not a single tear, nor spoke a word of grief. And now he would have her, a daughter born of a concubine, declared my mother's own child. My heart turned to ice. My mother bore only my elder brother and me. As for any others, let them be recorded under whoever gave them birth. Insolence. I inclined my head slightly, and spoke in a soft tone. It is no trifling matter for this household to suddenly acquire another legitimate daughter. Perhaps, father, you should first enter the palace and inquire after my aunt's opinion. And it would be proper as well to send word to my maternal grandfather. I fear, he is yet to learn that he now has another granddaughter. Father's face flushed red with fury. He pointed at me and roared. It is because your grandfather spoiled you too much that you have grown so willful and ungovernable. Ming Yuan immediately stepped forward to soothe him in her delicate voice. Father, please don't be angry. It was thoughtless of me. I should have realized sooner that elder sister does not welcome me. It doesn't matter. All these years I survived without father at my side. If I must endure more hardship in future, so be it. I only beg father not to quarrel with sister on my account. Look well at your sister, father snapped at me. Then look at yourself. Do you still have any semblance of a noble lady of this house? Xiao Chong added coldly. Ming Yuang, I never thought you were this sort of person. If word spreads that my future consort is so petty and jealous, where would I ever hide my face? Apologize to little Tuanai at once. From childhood, I had been taught that a wife must yield to her husband's authority. Thus I had never once defied Xiao Chong. In that moment, he looked upon me with thinly veiled scorn, the expression of a man confident of his victory, sure I would lower my head and admit fault. He walked to stand beside Ming Yuan, taking on the posture of her protector. Ming Yuan lifted her gaze to him, her eyes glistening, the air between them cloying enough to sicken onlookers. Yet for the sake of the greater design, I forced myself to endure and spoke calmly. Your Highness, that you should have a few confidants by your side, I can tolerate it. But between you and me lies honor and the bond of our family's reputations. I only ask that, at the very least before others, you show me some small measure of respect. Xiao Chong paused, then laughed softly. So, you are simply jealous. I stared at him dazed. Very well. Offer little Tuanai an apology, and I shall consider this matter settled. Inwardly, I thought, a rotting log cannot be carved. To force one's betrothed to abase herself, and even relish it, were the lords of the vassal states to hear, they would surely laugh themselves to death in their own halls. I could not be bothered to reply further. There is much still to prepare today. Ming Yuang takes her leave. Xiao Chong called after me as I turned away, chuckling. At least you still know how to blush. Ming Yuan placed her hands on her hips in a show of mock petulance. Xiao Chong, you're not defending me, humph. I'm truly angry now. Before the doors fully closed behind me, I heard my father and Xiao Chong together coaxing her. This is not a matter for a girl like her to decide. Yuan, don't fret. You are my daughter. Of course you are the legitimate lady of this house. Father will never let you suffer wrong. Ming Yuang will be married into the prince's household before long. When that day comes, I shall help you vent all your grievances. When I stepped out into the courtyard, my little maid, Xiao Yu, seethed with indignation. Young miss, you are wise and capable. How could an illegitimate daughter ever compare? The Prince of Jin must be blind not to see the difference between precious jade and base stone. Xiao Yu, I murmured, mind your words. I was soon to marry Xiao Chong. No matter what else, in the end, our fates would be bound together. Therefore, however he behaved, I must endure. Because my ambition had never been merely to wed a man. It was to become, like my great-grandmother and my aunt, the most honored woman in all the realm. All my courtesy toward Xiao Chong was because he was the Prince of Jin, the man most likely to claim the throne. Whom he loved, this mattered nothing to me. So long as that woman posed no threat to my position, he might do as he pleased. I returned to my preparations for the wedding 3 days hence. But I did not foresee that the next day, a secret decree from the imperial consort would turn all my plans to dust. Only then did I learn that Xiao Chong had knelt before his mother's palace gates, pleading to marry Ming Yuan instead, demanding the bride be changed. I was the one my aunt, the empress, had personally chosen. But the imperial consort, who had always shown a veneer of amiability toward the empress while secretly opposing her, would never pass up such a perfect opportunity to humiliate her rival. With a single secret edict, Ming Yuan's mother was elevated to official wife, her name entered into the ancestral records. That night, Ming Yuan herself came to my chambers, carrying the bridal robe I had spent years embroidering, and stood before the mirror, draping it over her shoulders. She smiled triumphantly at me. I am now the princess consort of Jin. I have claimed the status of legitimate daughter, too. How very sorry I am, elder sister. She blinked her eyes in feigned innocence, her voice lilting with mockery. They say you loved Xiao Chong dearly. Will you crawl into bed and weep in secret tonight? I sat at my writing desk, composing letters, wholly unmoved by her provocations. Perhaps displeased by my indifference, she flung the wedding robe onto the floor and gestured at the betrothal gifts and dowry arranged in the room, commanding the servants, "Carry everything to my chambers. After all, my dear sister has no further use for these." They came bustling in, raising a clamor. Xiao Yu started forward in fury, but I held out a hand to restrain her. Later, she turned to me, her voice trembling with resentment. "Young miss, are you afraid of her? If you but give the word, I alone could drive them all out." It was not that I feared her. I simply found it unnecessary. Xiao Yu pressed her lips together. "Then, when will we finally get to vent our anger in full?" I smiled faintly and handed her the letter I had just finished writing. "Take this. Write at once. Deliver it to the estate in Wu Prefecture. When he returns to the capital, where some grieve, others will rejoice." "Yes, miss. I shall depart this instant." I donned a veil and made my way to the largest tea house in the capital to wait. As I sat in the private chamber, voices drifted from the adjoining room, light-hearted, mocking. The second son of Marquis Heong laughed. Has His Highness truly broken off his engagement to Ming Yuan? To cast aside such a beauty, only you could be so cold-hearted. The young heir of the Duke Mu family chimed in. They say the bride is now to be the second daughter of the Ming clan. Yet why have we never heard that the Ming family even had a second daughter? There was a slurred edge to Xiao Chong's voice, already touched by drink. You simply don't understand. My little Tanai is far more intriguing than Ming Yuan ever was. Ming Yuan knows nothing beyond the four virtues and the rights of propriety, nothing at all. But little Tanai, she not only devised stratagems to help me quell the bandits, she even knows how to trade and conduct business. I have never met a woman so remarkable. Hearing you say so, I find myself all the more eager to meet your future consort, someone replied with a laugh. Though it is a pity for the Ming family's eldest daughter. Whoever marries her might, as well hold the empire itself. The words had yet to finish when another quickly clapped a hand over the speaker's mouth. He's drunk. Your Highness, please forgive him. Xiao Chong waved it off, sneering. Isn't there a saying? He who weds a Ming daughter gains the world. Utter nonsense. This realm bears the name Xiao, not Ming. At that, he seemed to recall something, and let out another derisive laugh. Ming Yuan has adored me since she was a child. Even if she were not to be my principal wife, she would still beg to marry me. So, in the end, both daughters of the Ming family shall belong to me. Xiao Chong shook his head, chuckling. When I told her I would not wed her, she merely replied blandly, very well. But I know perfectly well that every night she weeps beneath her quilts until her eyes are swollen. These past days she has shut herself away in her chambers, refusing to see anyone, too ashamed for me to behold her haggard face. Women, always fretting over such trifles. The others burst into boisterous laughter, offering congratulations that he should soon possess not one beauty, but two. All these years, my careful courtesy toward Xiao Chong had convinced them I would cling to him no matter what. Yet they seemed to have forgotten. The reigning son of heaven had more than a single son. Just then, Xiao Yu slipped quietly through the doorway. Miss, A reply has arrived from Wu Prefecture. I took the letter. Almost at that same moment, the person I had been waiting for arrived as well. The revelers in the other chamber, having drunk and feasted their fill, rose to go watch opera. When their voices faded into the distance, Jing Che poured himself a cup of tea and regarded the sealed letter resting before me. You have no intention of opening it. I shook my head. There's no need. He will not refuse. Jing Che looked faintly puzzled, but seeing that I did not wish to elaborate, he did not press further. You summoned me here today. Have you already decided your next move? I did not conceal it. I want you to sell all the shops under your name that trade in Hu goods. Take the proceeds in silver and buy up every last jar of the skin bomb in the capital and neighboring cities. Jing Che's hand stilled. He lifted his gaze to me. You intend to strike at the imperial consort. The consort of the Zhao clan suffered from a rare skin affliction. Only balm imported from Dongxia could ease it. Ordinarily, the balm was no precious commodity. The Hu merchants from Dongxia sold it freely in their shops. The consort, terrified the emperor might come to disdain her, had concealed her ailment for years. Each month, on the 15th, she sent her trusted maid to purchase a supply. It is merely a delaying measure, I said softly. I require a pretext, one no one can contest. Jing Che and I had grown up together. With his keen mind, he could grasp my designs even if I left them unspoken. Sure enough, he paused only an instant before frowning. If all the balm is bought up, the consort will order the imperial physicians to prepare more. But the key ingredient can be sourced only from Dongxia. And this happens to be the season for Dongxia's tribute envoys to arrive. They will pass through Wu Prefecture. The most suitable escort for the tribute mission is... Jing Che let out a weary laugh. A child who was sent to Wu Prefecture at the age of 5. 12 years have passed. Perhaps even the emperor himself has forgotten he ever had such a son. His gaze held mine, steady and searching. He is your new choice, isn't he? Yes. Jing Che studied me a long while. At last, he lowered his eyes and sighed. Very well. After all those enterprises were mine in name alone. I have only ever managed them on your behalf. It is for you to decide how they are used. With that, he rose to leave. Jing Che. He turned at once. I pressed my lips together, speaking slowly. One more thing. In court, I need someone to bring this matter to light. To create the pretext. He nodded slowly. Very well. After a moment, he lowered his head and murmured something so softly I could not catch the words. When I asked him to repeat it, he merely shook his head. It does not matter. I'm going. You should return to your residence soon. On the journey home, my thoughts kept circling back to the things Xiao Chong had drunkenly boasted. He claimed that Ming Yuan had subdued the bandit clans in Yu Prefecture and managed vast enterprises there. But over these many years, the holdings Jing Che and I controlled had stretched across the realm, trading with countless merchants. If such a formidable power truly existed in Yu Prefecture, it was impossible I would have no inkling of it. Xiao Yu, I ordered calmly, send someone at once to investigate the current situation in Yu Prefecture. See whether the bandit threat has truly been eradicated. And Ming Yuan herself, look into her as well. Remember, this must be done in secret. No trace left behind. Yes, miss. I had scarcely finished speaking when the carriage was halted by force. Xiao Chong stood in the road, his gaze full of disdain. Ming Yuan, must you debase yourself so thoroughly? I went out for a simple drink with friends, and still you have to skulk along behind. Since I am to marry little Toanai, it would be best if you stayed out of sight for these days. If she were to see you, she would be upset. I lifted my eyes to him without emotion, my lips curving faintly. Your Highness needn't concern yourself. Our betrothal is dissolved. From this day on, Ming Yuan will not trouble you again. You are free to wed your precious beauty. He froze. After a moment, he sneered. Still putting on that brittle facade. Do you think by feigning unbending resolve, you'll make me relent? Best cast off such delusions now. The title of Princess Consort of Jin, you shall never dream of it again. Perhaps because I gave no reply, he dropped his voice as though offering some great mercy. If you conduct yourself with proper decorum, when little Tuanai enters my household, I will petition my father to permit you to be my secondary consort. I frowned faintly. Xiao Chong, oblivious, seemed to believe he had conferred a tremendous favor. He straightened proudly and rode off at a gallop, his expression bright with triumph. Xiao Yu watched his retreating figure, too choked with scorn to speak. That man, what manner of creature is he? Not long after, Ming Yuan and Xiao Chong had their 8 characters matched and set the wedding date, half a month hence. Jing Che moved swiftly. On the very day the imperial consort's servant went out to make her monthly purchases, he severed every supply of the bomb she relied on. As expected, the consort raised a furious commotion in the imperial physician's hall. But however many prescriptions they devised, without the rare ingredient, nothing could be done. I heard that for days she refused to see a single soul. At that same time, Jing Che presented his proposal in court to host Dongxia's tribute envoys. The great Yin had long needed someone suited to this duty. I have a candidate without equal. Speak. His Highness Prince Su is presently in Wu Prefecture. His mother, Consort Yu, was herself a princess of Dongxia. For Prince Su to receive their envoys would be most appropriate. I humbly propose he be appointed to escort the delegation to the capital. At first, the court fell silent. Then murmurs spread like ripples. As if all at once, they recalled that the young prince exiled from the capital so many years ago still existed. The emperor showed no clear reaction, only quiet contemplation. The sole faction to oppose Prince Su's return belonged to the imperial consort. Yet at that moment, she was powerless to act. Thus, the prince who had vanished from Great Yin for 12 years, Prince Su, was at last about to reappear before the world's eyes. In the blink of an eye, the day of Xiao Chong and Ming Yuan's wedding arrived. Early the next morning, the new bride went to the palace to offer formal greetings. After paying respects to the empress, she set out for Prosperity Pavilion to salute the imperial consort, only to be barred by palace attendants. Her Grace the consort is unwell and cannot receive guests. The prince and princess consort are asked to return to their residence. To be turned away on the very first day of marriage, Ming Yuan ground her teeth until her jaw nearly cracked. Perhaps the other consorts who disliked the imperial consort had deliberately fanned the gossip. Rumors swept through the noble circles, claiming the consort's face had decayed so grievously she no longer dared meet anyone. By the time the whispers reached my ears, they had grown even more grotesque. That her face had rotted to the point of breeding maggots, frightening 2 handmaids half to death. Xiao Yu recounted it all in breathless detail, delighted as if she had seen it herself. I could only shake my head, helpless, and instructed her to send a letter to Jing Che. Prince Su has already set out for the capital. The supply of the bomb may now be restored. 7 days later, the imperial consort announced a banquet for viewing the plum blossoms, sending invitations to every noble lady in the capital. No doubt eager to prove her face healed and silence all rumor. As with all palace banquets, a display of talents was required. This time, the consort herself decreed the theme, painting plum blossoms. When the court ladies brought their works forward, soft laughter drifted through the hall. Ming Yuan, surrounded by scornful stares, clenched her painting so tightly the paper tore in her hands. What are you laughing at? It's only a few branches of plum. What's so worthy of pride? She flung the ruined painting aside and stormed out in fury. I quietly chose a corner and set my own painting upon the table. But the imperial consort seemed intent on making me the focus of all eyes. Pointing to the scroll depicting a plum bough braving snow and wind, she praised it effusively. Whose work is this? To capture so perfectly the proud spirit of the plum blossom. I am most pleased. A generous reward must be granted. At once, every gaze in the hall turned toward me. Some curious, some resentful, and some filled with cold disdain. The imperial consort, having lit the fuse, now excused herself under some pretext, leaving the young ladies free to converse as they pleased. Girls of their age were ever eager to gossip about the latest scandals in the capital. They shot furtive glances my way, voices pitched just loudly enough to carry. The 2 Ming sisters truly are a spectacle. The younger is a rustic simpleton who knows nothing, while the elder, for all her talent, is nothing but a laughingstock discarded by her betrothed. Indeed, what use is painting skill? Once the Prince of Jin cast her aside, who would dare marry her? That Ming Yuan may not be much liked, but she is the princess consort of Jin, and the emperor favors the prince most of all. He will surely be the next sovereign. Then the princess consort will be empress. Who cares if she can't paint a few flowers? Best we all keep our eyes clear. No point befriending a woman who will end up a shriveled spinster. Offend the future princess consort, and you'll have nothing but trouble. Standing not far off, I heard every word. A vague sorrow welled in my chest. Among the four realms, Great Yin was the strongest and the most generous to its women. In Great Yin, women could read and even hold official rank. Yet even here, among daughters of the finest houses, a woman discarded by her fiancé was seen as worthless as dust. As if a woman's worth must be pinned to a man's name to be real. This was not the Great Yin I longed to see. But precisely this truth was why I was determined to change it. Why I would spend everything I had, without hesitation, to climb as high as I could reach. The banquet felt stifling and dreary, the air thick as stagnant water. I stepped out into the corridor to take the air. When I turned, I found Ming Yuan already behind me, a faint smile curving her lips. She loosened her hand. The hand warmer fell, striking the floor with a dull thud. Scalding water splashed over her embroidered shoes, yet she showed no flicker of alarm. Only a few old nurses she had brought herself were present. I understood well enough what she meant to do, and spoke calmly. This banquet is held under the imperial consort's patronage. Her Grace cares for appearances above all else. Princess consort, it would be wise not to make trouble here. Her smile chilled as it widened. And since when is it your place to lecture me? Everyone says the Ming family's eldest daughter is the very model of a noble lady. Is this what your family has taught you all these years? Her words had barely ended before one of her nurses seized my shoulder and forced me to my knees. Ming Yuan lifted her foot toward me. Are you not clever in all things? Then surely you know how to clean a shoe. Wipe it for your princess consort. I remained motionless. Her voice turned icy. Ming Yuan shows no respect for her betters. She does not know her place. Beat her. The nurse obeyed at once, her hand flashing out. The first slap split my lip. The second filled my mouth with the taste of iron. Ming Yuan's delight was unrestrained. Harder. Smash that foxy face to pieces. Did you imagine you could seduce Xiao Chong into taking you as his concubine? Dream on. In that moment, I found myself laughing softly. So that was it. Xiao Yu, who had gone to fetch my cloak, returned to see the scene and cried out in horror, ready to rush forward. I shook my head. Mouth barely moving, I shaped two silent syllables. Imperial consort. She understood at once and fled back toward the main hall. Moments later, the imperial consort arrived, her expression dark as a thundercloud. She had wished me to be isolated, to be the object of every woman's scorn. Because the less worthy I appeared, the easier it was for her to negotiate with the empress in her son's favor. But that did not mean she intended for the princess consort, her son's newly wedded wife, to be the one to strike me. From the start, the consort had never planned for Xiao Chong to sever all ties with me. Years in the inner palace had taught her better than anyone. I was not merely Ming Yuan. I was the sister of the northern frontier general, the granddaughter of the powerful elders of the Doi clan. She had believed the Prince of Jin's position unassailable, had been eager to humiliate my aunt, the Empress, by marrying him to Ming Yuan. But now, Prince Su was returning. Panic had begun to bloom. Tonight, I knew, what awaited me was not only idle mockery. The deadliest arrow was yet hidden in the dark. Yet Ming Yuan had struck too soon. Those slaps had not only landed on my face. They had shattered the careful path the imperial consort had laid for her son. Enough. The consort's hand shook with fury. Once I was released, my limbs collapsed under me. Xiao Yu hurried to catch me, tears spilling. Your Grace, my lady knows she was wrong. She should never have stolen the praise for painting the plum blossoms, nor wept in secret over the broken engagement, nor made you displeased. You are his consort, and she is but a subject. Whatever punishment you decree is just. Only, I beg you, spare her life, so she may see her brother again, he who has guarded our borders these many years. I beg you, I beg you. At once, every eye turned on Ming Yuan. You worthless wretch, what nonsense are you spewing? She cried shrilly. When did I say I would take her life? The imperial consort's face grew colder by the moment. Around us, the noble ladies began to murmur. How pitiful, the Ming family's eldest daughter, engaged by solemn betrothal, cast aside at the last hour by her own sister. Even her quiet sorrow is forbidden. How cruel. The northern general spends every day defending Great Yan's frontiers, these peaceful days of ours bought with his soldiers' blood. If he knew his sister was beaten like this in the palace, how could his heart not chill? Say what you will, they are still kin. How can the princess consort be so merciless? Look, she's fainted. Xiao Yu fell to her knees, voice hoarse. Your Grace, please grant mercy. Let me carry my lady home to be treated. If we delay, she may not survive. The imperial consort clenched her fist, her voice low and cold. Summon the physicians. She will be treated here, in my prosperity pavilion. Even now, she was unwilling to let me leave. Xiao Yu bowed her head, knocking it against the floor in 2 dull thuds. I beg you, show mercy. Please, show mercy. I have not forbidden her treatment, the consort snapped. What is the meaning of this performance? Xiao Yu only pressed her forehead to the tiles, wordless but unrelenting. Madame Zheng, wife of the Duke of Zheng, spoke from nearby. Such a loyal girl. Before so many witnesses, to beat the Ming family's eldest daughter like this, then confine her. Who can say what further indignities she would suffer? It would be best to send her home at once. Other ladies began to murmur assent. The imperial consort said not a word, but her nails dug so deep into her palm, she tore the skin. Ming Yuan, panicked, lunged toward me, seizing my arm. I barely struck her. She's pretending. Look at her, get up. Xiao Yu shielded me with her whole body. Your Highness, spare us. Please have mercy. She's feigning it. Ming Yuan shrieked. And yet here she stood, this grand, resplendent princess consort, humiliating a wounded woman who lay insensate. Many of the noble wives present had husbands serving in the censorate. Tomorrow, if the Prince of Jin was not formally denounced, it would be thanks only to these ladies' forbearance. Enough, the imperial consort's voice cut the air, low and cold. Utterly witless women. She ordered her attendants to lift me onto a litter and carry me back to the Ming estate. The princess consort has disgraced herself. From tomorrow, she is confined to quarters. Granny Gui, return with her to the prince's residence. Teach her well the rules of the royal household. On what grounds? Ming Yuan cried hysterically. She's feigning injury. Why am I the one punished? But beneath the consort's icy stare, so cold it seemed it might devour her, Ming Yuan was dragged away by the nurses. Once the carriage was underway and I was certain no others remained, I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was Xiao Yu's tear-swollen face, her forehead bruised from kneeling. Miss, does it hurt terribly? I'm not the one in pain, I murmured. You are. I reached out to blow gently on her bruised skin. Foolish girl. It was only a performance. Why injure yourself for real? She gave a watery laugh. I've followed you more than 10 years. The moment you fell, I knew exactly what to do. If it helps you, what's a little wound? I couldn't help smiling faintly. So you mean to march about the heavens with that bump on your head, showing off your new house? Xiao Yu blinked, uncomprehending. I teased, voice soft. Did you not say 1,000 times you wanted a grand house? What now? Have you changed your mind? I want it, I want it. She burst out, half laughing, half weeping. Heavens, my lady truly is the best person in this world. When I've saved a little more, I'll buy a few handsome young men to serve. Wretched girl. In our laughter, the carriage finally reached the Ming estate. My father was standing in the main hall, back to the door. All the servants kept their heads lowered, scarcely daring to breathe. It seemed word from the palace had arrived before me. I gestured for Xiao Yu to step aside. But miss. I shook my head and stepped forward to kneel. Father spoke without turning. Kneel. From his lofty height, he looked down on me, his gaze colder than midwinter ice. Bring the rod. If the princess consort cannot discipline you, then I, your father, shall. The heavy wooden staff rose and fell, striking my legs again and again. Father did not ask me a single question. He would not even look me in the face. Outside, rain began to fall in drifts. Within the hall, there was only the dull rhythm of wood on flesh and the patter of rain. At length, he waved a hand. The servants drew back. He turned to me, his voice wearied and sad. Ming Yuan, why can you not find it in your heart to forgive your sister? You were raised in comfort, in wealth and rank. But Yuan, she has suffered. She has only just been accepted into the clan. Why can you not let her be? Did he not see the blood on my lips, the bruises on my face? I lifted my head, the twin marks of Ming Yuan's slaps still vivid. Father turned away, flinging out his sleeve. Had you not provoked her, she would never have harmed you. At that I stilled. He went on, his voice cold as iron. Yuan is now the princess consort of Jin. Yet she was punished, confined before the entire court. Tell me, how shall she show her face again? But father, I did not provoke her. He exhaled, as though tired of my denials. Do you think I do not see your heart? She takes after her mother. And you are just like yours, always needing to be first. You resent her for marrying the prince, so you scheme to ruin her. They have been wed but days, and already he speaks of taking you as his concubine. Did you imagine I would not recognize whose doing that was? I had always believed myself a woman of fluent speech. Yet in that moment, I found no words. Since childhood, I had known my father did not favor me. I had thought it was only sternness, his fear that indulgence would make me weak. Never had I imagined that, in his eyes, I was capable of such malice. He sighed, long and heavy. No daughter of the Ming clan will ever share a husband. Tomorrow, I will see you betrothed to another, so you may finally abandon this delusion of entering the prince's household. He turned and left. One by one, the servants followed. I rose on unsteady legs, each step raw with pain, and made my way back to the rear chambers. By dawn, fever had set in. The physician came and went more than once, pronouncing the illness and affliction of the spirit, grief congealed in the blood, worsened by untreated wounds. I did not know how long I drifted in and out of darkness. When at last I opened my eyes, the first thing I heard was, Prince Su has returned to the capital. Xiao Yu, still pale with fright, whispered beside me. Buddha preserve us, miss, you've survived after all. Now that the young lord has come back, let us see who dares harm you again. I stilled for a moment. My brother has returned. Xiao Yu slapped her forehead. Heavens, miss, I forgot to tell you the good news. The young master arrived yesterday. At dawn today, he entered the palace to present himself before his majesty. By now, he must be nearly home again. Even as her words fell, my brother pushed the door open in haste, still wearing his military robes. Back when Ming Yuan had humiliated me, when I returned home only to be beaten until I fainted, I had never shed a tear. Yet somehow, the instant I saw him standing there, my eyes stung hot. He still carried the cold of the morning air. Reaching out, he gently tucked a stray lock of hair behind my temple. It's over now. I am here. This time, I have come to the capital to report my campaign's success. The imperial summons was sudden. There was no time to send word ahead. In these past 5 days since Prince Su returned to the capital, the emperor had not granted him an audience. The noble families watched closely, but the monarch's indifference made them wary. No one dared to act. And so, for a time, Prince Su remained isolated, with no patron to shield him. My brother and I spoke briefly of court matters before he turned the conversation to my marriage. That Prince of Jin is a fool without eyes to see. Our Lang is blessed. She should never wed into a house without fortune. You are newly of age. There is no need to rush a match. Even if you never wed, the Ming clan has means enough to provide for you. I sighed softly. Brother, you must be careful what you say. If you call the prince's household ill-fated, are you not implying the royal family itself is ill-fated? You hold command in the army, real power. Many wait in the shadows for you to make the slightest misstep. Should such words reach the wrong ears, more trouble will come. You are right, he said gravely. I will remember. I managed a tired smile. There is something else I hoped you might help me with. That night, one by one, lanterns were extinguished across the Ming estate. When all lay silent, 2 dark figures vaulted over the courtyard wall into my chambers. Xiao Yu crept to the door, allowing one to slip inside before she took up watch. Young master, she hissed, why is your face so dark? She turned to the other sentry, Ming He, who averted his gaze stiffly. It's the darkness, too dark to see clearly. A while later, Ming He pressed his ear to the door, voice taut with fury. How could a Lang possibly know Prince Su? Why is that whelp in my sister's chambers? He had best behave himself. He had best not dare. Inside, I regarded the tall figure before me and inclined my head. This humble woman greets your highness. He curved his lips in a slow smile. So the strategist Ling Zhe, who has guided me unseen all these years, was a woman. Truly, beyond my expectation. Your highness, I said quietly. You, too, are no longer the boy I once met. He paused, then gave a low, amused laugh. Prince Su, Xiao Ningen, was the son of the Dongxiao princess of the Yu clan. His mother had died young. He bore her striking features, deep sapphire eyes, finely carved countenance more vivid than any great Yin noble. For that beauty, he had suffered no small cruelty. At 5, he had been made Prince Su, then sent to Wu Prefecture. I wondered, did he remember that day, before he was exiled, when we had met once, briefly? Ling's stratagems were unparalleled. I will not lie, I have long regarded you as my dearest counselor. After my return to the capital, I sent my card at once, hoping you might meet me. When no reply came, I thought perhaps you, too, meant to abandon this worthless piece on the board. I shook my head quickly. My true name is Alang. Lingzhi was a title I adopted for convenience. You need not be so formal. Please, call me Ming Yuang. I drew a breath and spoke steadily. I never saw your highness as a mere pawn. From the moment I chose your side, I resolved to stand as your ally. I secluded myself these days not to avoid you, but because circumstances in my household went awry. I fell ill. Even now, I cannot rise from bed. So I begged my brother to bring your highness here. Seeing me rush to explain, he smiled again, teasing, warm. Just now, you look so anxious. I only jested a little, yet it has made you more flustered. I blinked, then exhaled slowly, my pulse at last steadying. Even now, he stood at a respectful distance, neither too close, nor too far. Now that I have met the strategist I so admired, I shall not trouble you further. When you have recovered, we will speak again of what comes next. He turned to leave. Wait. I blurted the word. Then, heedless of pain, pushed back my coverlets and swung my legs over the side. The moment my feet touched the floor, agony seared through me like knives. Reflexively, I reached for anything to brace myself, and in my haste, my hand caught his sash, pulling it loose. He caught me as I stumbled. I looked up, still gripping the trailing belt, realizing too late how it must appear. I still have something I must say. He bit back a laugh, mouth curving. Speak. As he steadied me and helped me sit again on the edge of the bed, I felt my composure slip. What ought to have been a simple arrangement, a pact between allies, now, in this moment, felt strangely tangled with something else. I glanced down at the sash still in my grasp and sighed. I wish to ask your highness to come to the Ming estate to propose marriage. Seeing his expression, I hurried to add, the purpose between us is clear. You wish to ascend the throne. I wish to hold the phoenix seal. Sooner or later, we would have to marry, I said softly. But now, the situation is pressing. My father has already begun seeking matchmakers for me. All right. I know that, but, what? Xiao Ningen smiled. I will choose an auspicious day. I shall come to the Ming estate to propose, and formally welcome my strategist as my bride. He possessed the face of a bewitching immortal. Worse yet, he was always smiling. Whenever his lips curved, those jade-green eyes gleamed like living gemstones. It was too easy to fall into them. I looked up at him, dazed, my fingers tightening unconsciously around the sash still clutched in my hand. How did you grow up to be even more beautiful than you were as a child? The words slipped free before I could swallow them. At once, we both stilled. I bit the tip of my tongue in silent regret, my face burning so hot it felt like flame. At that precise moment, the door crashed open. Young master. Miss said no one. Oh. Xiao Yu froze mid-sentence, flung up her hands to cover her eyes, and squeaked. I saw nothing. Xiao Ningen's robes were half undone. My own cheeks were scarlet. Brother, please, let me explain. You shameless scoundrel. I'll kill you. After seeing Xiao Ningen out, my brother fixed me with a grave stare. Alang, how long have you been in contact with Prince Su? I knew what he truly wished to ask, and answered just as solemnly. For some time. But please be at ease, my decision to stand with him is mine alone. It has nothing to do with the Ming clan. I will never let it implicate you. Don't say such nonsense, he snapped. You are my sister. Do you think I would let you shoulder such danger alone? He sighed, his voice rough. It's only. I cannot understand it. The balance is clearly tilted toward the Prince of Jin. He is all but certain to inherit the throne. Why would you cast your lot with Prince Su, isolated, without backing? I smiled faintly. Brother, trust me. He is far more fit to rule than Xiao Chong ever was. Now he is weak, but the phoenix comes only to roost upon a firm wudong tree. When the wudong stands tall, the phoenix will come. One day, countless others will follow him. What I did not know was, Xiao Ningen had not truly left. After my brother stormed from my chambers, he met Xiao Ningen under the gallery. There, Ming he dropped to one knee. Your Highness has surely heard my sister's words. I have only one sister. I am willing to stand beside her, together with you, to strive for this great cause. Xiao Ningen reached to lift him up. Under his breath, he repeated the phrase I had spoken. When the Wutong stands firm, the phoenix will come. He inclined his head, voice low with unfeigned solemnity. I will not disappoint you. Once my wounds had healed fully, my father pressed the matter of marriage. Day after day, young men came to call, each seeking my hand. When I used the same excuse to refuse the seventh in succession, we do not suit. Father slammed his hand upon the table, voice thundering. Just what sort of man do you mean to find? I blinked at him, all innocence. The sort I like, naturally. He nearly choked from rage. Whether you approve or not, this marriage will proceed. Today, you must answer plainly. What sort of man do you deem suitable? Before I could reply, an attendant's voice rang from the doorway. Announcement. His Majesty's decree. I curved my lips in a small, calm smile and tilted my head toward the entrance. Father turned. His eyes went wide. You. Proclaim it. The eunuch unrolled the golden scroll. By heaven's mandate. To Ming Yuang, eldest daughter of the Grand Secretary Ming Shilin, a lady of dutiful conduct, virtuous and gentle, courteous in manner and elegant in bearing, whose grace brings honor to her house. In consideration of her integrity, refinement, and steadfast adherence to propriety, we bestow her in marriage to Prince Su, to be his principal consort. May they together support the realm in harmony, and bring prosperity to the dynasty. The Ministry of Rites shall see to the arrangements. A propitious date shall be chosen for the grand ceremony. Thus is our will. Respect this. My father stood frozen where he was. I stepped forward and knelt. This humble subject accepts the decree. Gratitude to His Majesty. Word spread swiftly across the capital. Prince Su, Xiao Ningen, had personally requested the emperor's edict of betrothal. Not long after, Xiao Chong, who had remained unseen for days, broke precedent and escorted Ming Yuan back to the Ming estate. Since her scolding by the imperial consort, Ming Yuan had grown quiet. No longer did she rage and crow, nor did she smile much, either. Rumor said she was with child. But to look upon her, one saw only pallor and weariness. Father, fretful, ordered the kitchens to prepare nourishing broth with the rare ginseng he had kept in reserve. I withdrew to my own quarters, unwilling to intrude on their reunion. But halfway down the corridor, Xiao Chong blocked my path. His gaze was a mingled fury and grief, like a man watching something he owned stolen from his grasp. Do you think, he spat, that marrying Xiao Ningen is some grand triumph? He only seeks to compete with me, because I married Ming Yuan. When I did not answer, his composure cracked. Yuang, truly, in your heart, you still care for me, don't you? Don't marry him. If you go to the emperor and beg to withdraw the decree, I will wed you at once. Though you will be a concubine, I swear, your standing in my household will be equal to Ming Yuan's. You will manage the estate, no one will dare slight you. And when I ascend the throne, you will be. Enough. My voice was ice, my gaze locked on his face without wavering. Xiao Chong, your wife sits in the hall at this moment, carrying your child. And still you speak such shameless words. He stared at me, aghast, and began to shake his head. I don't know why. The moment I heard you were to wed a other, my heart felt hollowed out. We were childhood sweethearts. I was meant to be the one to marry you. How did it become like this? Because a Lang has already met me. A new voice cut across his lament. Turning at the sound of the voice, I saw Xiao Ningen striding forward, draped in a dark blue robe embroidered with regal patterns, every movement unhurried, his gaze luminous. He passed Xiao Chong without so much as a glance, and came straight toward me. Ming Yuan trailed behind him, her face deathly pale. She, too, had clearly heard every word Xiao Chong had spoken. Xiao Chong's jaw clenched, his eyes sharp as blades. What are you doing here? Visiting my future father-in-law, Xiao Ningen replied calmly. Or must I beg someone's permission to enter? He looked Xiao Chong over, brows lifting in mock curiosity. You, on the other hand, seeing your elder brother arrive, and not even offering a greeting. Who taught you such discourtesy? Xiao Ningen, do not presume too much. Xiao Chong spat. You, half a foreigner, have no right to set foot near the throne. You were born to be crushed beneath me. His gaze slid to me, simmering with dark meaning. Everything that belongs to me, I will take back, sooner or later. With a furious sweep of his sleeve, he turned and stalked away. Ming Yuan cast me a quick, unreadable look before hurrying after him. A vague unease stirred in me, though I could not yet name its cause. Xiao Ningen raised a hand and waved it lightly before my eyes, jolting me back to the present. I blinked up into that breathtaking face, momentarily dazed, and felt my heart skip a beat. One dark brow lifted, amusement glinting in those gem-like green eyes. I retreated half a step. Your Highness, why are you here? I heard someone was harboring designs on my betrothed. Naturally, I came to make my claim plain. The bluntness of it left me searching for any proper reply. He smiled faintly. We've chosen to bind ourselves to each other, haven't we? My strategist had better start growing accustomed to that. I considered this, then nodded gravely. Then, should anyone covet my betrothed in future, I may declare my claim as well, yes. After a pause, I added in all seriousness. After all, my betrothed is truly too beautiful for any heart to remain unmoved. This time, he was the one caught speechless. I could not help the quiet laugh that escaped me. In that moment, memories of teasing him in our childhood. They felt unchanged, somehow. At last, he exhaled a helpless sigh, the corners of his lips curving upward in reluctant surrender. On our wedding day, I could not resist lifting a corner of my red veil to look at him. Clad in scarlet robes, Xiao Ningen was everything I had imagined. Radiant, arresting, impossibly striking. I walked slowly, uncertain with my sight obscured. He took my hand, his voice low and warm. Do not fear, my lady. I will lead you. The days that followed were peaceful, yet brimming with purpose. In the guise of Master Ling Zhe, I helped Xiao Ningen expand his alliances. It was during that time I realized he was nothing like the powerless figure everyone believed. Beneath his quiet facade, Xiao Ningen was fathomless, stronger than any could have foreseen. Many of the empire's most senior ministers were already loyal to him. While the Prince of Jin squandered his days in idle pleasure, Xiao Ningen had quietly laid his foundations, an immense tree that reached the heavens. When he returned to the capital, he had no intention of hiding his strength any longer. In only a short time, the court's attitude toward him changed utterly. Two great factions emerged, equal in might. The Prince of Jin and Prince Su, locked in open rivalry. As for the emperor, he remained inscrutable, his favor opaque. At last, the Prince of Jin's partisans grew restless. Just then, unrest flared at the border. Dongxia agents slipped across the frontier into Great Yan. During the birthday feast of Princess Anyang, spies struck in concert, injuring many of the court's noble families. The Prince of Jin's faction seized their chance. They forged evidence, accusing Xiao Ningen of collusion with Dongxia to seize the throne. Given that his mother had been a Dongxia princess, the suspicion clung to him like oil. Within hours, he was trapped in a noose. The emperor erupted in fury. A decree was issued. Prince Su was to be confined within his residence, forbidden to set foot outside without express imperial command. From that day, spies and watchers ringed the estate in layers. Amid the storm, the inquiries I had once ordered into Ming Yuan finally bore fruit. When my agents reached Yu Prefecture, they discovered the bandits' traces had been carefully erased. It took much time and bribery to learn the truth. No wealthy woman merchant had ever existed there. There had been only one female leader among the bandit clans. And when they were shown a portrait of the Prince of Jin's consort, they immediately confirmed it was she. There had been no pacification at all. The Prince of Jin had simply allied with the bandits, sharing in their spoils. All that talk of Ming Yuan's brilliance at trade. It was no more than theft and extortion, bleeding the common folk dry. Xiao Yu's jaw clenched in fury. Then she frowned, confusion creasing her brow. But there's something strange. My contact reported that after Second Mist joined the Prince of Jin, those bandits became his vassals. Yet, half a month ago, every last one of them, 137, burned to death in a single night. The magistrate's report claimed it was an accident, wind blowing embers from the kitchen to the dry straw. In that moment, at last, I understood why Ming Yuan had grown so wan, so subdued. All those bandits she had once commanded. Xiao Chong must have slaughtered them himself, silencing every witness. Outside the door, a maid announced softly, "Your Highness, Madame Pingyang has come to call." Though Xiao Ningen had been placed under house arrest, the emperor had never forbidden others to visit the prince's estate. Day after day, noble women and imperial kin came in droves, outwardly to pay respects to me, but in truth, to probe for news of Prince Su. Yet none of them knew the truth. Prince Su was not confined in his residence at all. He was in the imperial palace. That was because of my brother. My brother was no reckless man. No matter how he fretted for my safety, he would never misuse the imperial army as his private force. Yet that day, he had done precisely that, declaring openly that he stood with Prince Su. The reason was simple. He had received a secret edict from the emperor himself. No sooner had he returned from the frontier and entered the palace than he was summoned in private and commanded to protect Prince Su at all costs. From that day on, the Northern Frontier Army would obey only Prince Su's command. As for this decision, I could not claim surprise. For a long time, I had suspected the truth. All these years, Xiao Chong had lingered in the capital, and still, he was never named crown prince. Yet when Jing Che merely suggested recalling Prince Su, the emperor agreed at once. That alone proved one thing. The son he truly favored, had always favored, was not the Prince of Jin, but Prince Su. The reason Xiao Ningen could cultivate such a vast hidden network, placing agents everywhere in the capital, was that the Son of Heaven himself had often turned a blind eye. At times, he had even lent his covert support. As for why the emperor had contrived so many elaborate deceptions, one had to look further back, to Xiao Ningen's mother, Consort Yu. Though she was called a Dongxia princess, Consort Yu had only been the daughter of Dongxia's ruler and a lowly palace maid. Her station little better than a servant's. When Dongxia threatened to invade, they dispatched her as a political offering, a worthless sacrifice, easily discarded. What they never foresaw was that the emperor would come to love her. But regardless of affection, the blood in her son's veins could never be denied. No minister of Great Yin would ever consent to see a half-foreign prince ascend the dragon throne. In childhood, Xiao Ningen had survived countless accidents. Poisonings, staged falls, every subtle cruelty devised to end his life. At last, to protect him, the emperor had no choice but to feign coldness, banishing mother and son to the distant province of Wu. Consort Yu, believing herself betrayed, grew bitter and silent. Oppressed by the other consorts, she passed away one bitter winter, alone and unmourned. After an exchange of polite phrases, I at last managed to see Madame Pingyang to the gates. Even so, the news that Prince Su was not within the estate soon leaked out. The emperor was a dying man, worn thin by years of rule, his body already beyond salvation. At any moment, he might draw his last breath. Xiao Chong, poised to inherit all he desired, knew he could afford no mistakes. It was then that a eunuch close to the emperor slipped into his chamber and whispered two secrets. Prince Su was hidden in the palace itself, and the emperor had already written a will naming Xiao Ningen as his successor. At that, Xiao Chong saw the end of all his ambitions. Cornered, he resolved to gamble everything. That night, he rallied his forces to stage a coup. His plan was to seize me as a hostage, to force Xiao Ningen to yield. But he never accounted for the shadow guard I had trained since my girlhood. They routed his vanguard before he could even breach the walls. I led my men straight into the palace to join Prince Su's defense. The air was thick with blood, bodies scattered across the courtyards. At last, Xiao Ningen and I met before the Hall of Heavenly Purity. The Prince of Jin's troops were already all but subdued. It was only when he saw the eunuch, the emperor's trusted attendant, that realization struck him like a blow. He stared, shaking, voice raw. "Father, I am your son too. How could you do this to me?" The emperor's breath came in ragged gasps, each word torn from his chest. "All of this was the debt your mother owed to you." At last, the truth emerged. The one who had left Consort Yu to freeze to death, alone in the winter hall, was none other than Xiao Chong's own mother, the imperial consort. Because he had loved Yu too deeply, the emperor had planned for Xiao Ningen's future with all the cunning at his command, even if it took a lifetime to see it done. Xiao Chong was confined in chains. The last visitor permitted to see him was Ming Yuan. She was 8 months pregnant. Yuan, I knew you would not abandon me. You found a way to save me, haven't you? Ming Yuan lifted the lacquered food box, set a bowl of porridge before him. Your Highness, eat something first. He seized it eagerly, swallowing spoonful after spoonful. It was only when the pain began, when black blood flooded from his lips, that he looked up at her in bewilderment. Why? You loved me, didn't you? He clutched at his throat, black blood spilling in torrents from his mouth. Ming Yuan watched, tears sliding soundlessly down her cheeks, yet her eyes were cold as winter ice. You murdered my kin, my friends, and you ask me how I could ever love you. Xiao Chong toppled sideways, collapsing to the floor. Still, he could not let go. His hand scrabbled for the hem of her robe, voice a hoarse, broken plea. You honored save me. I was wrong. We have a child. She gave a single, mirthless laugh. A child. I was a fool, but never so much a fool as to bear a monster's child. Do you know why your defeat was so complete? Her words fell with the finality of a blade. It was I who gave Ming Yuang all your troop dispositions and fortifications. I who told her the hour you planned to strike. I who helped her slip free of Prince Su's estate. There was never any child. The pregnancy was a lie, brewed in a vial to fool you. Xiao Chong stared up at her, eyes wide, uncomprehending. She tore her skirts from his grasp with a flick of her knife and turned away without hesitation. In the 35th year of the Fengming era, Prince Su ascended the throne. His coronation and the Empress's investiture were held on the same day, the entire realm rejoicing in celebration. Empress Ming reformed the old laws. From that day forward, the women of Great Yin were no longer bound to a single path, marriage. And so, beneath clear skies and tranquil seas, Great Yin flourished. The land knew peace. The end.